Welcome to Risk Roundup. While passwords have become a part of everyday life, the debate remains whether passwords are a secure means of authentication and whether we should even continue using passwords. Irrespective of whether we use passwords or not, the reality remains that the digital global age has brought us a need for secure login and authentication protocol for websites, for email accounts, for social media accounts, for banking accounts, smartphones, ATM PIN numbers, home security system alarm codes, and so much more. This is mainly because individuals and entities across nations, its government, industries, organizations, and academia are accessing digital services through all these different, mediums, websites, emails, for mobile applications, and so much more, growing the need for stronger user ID and passwords. While a more secure means of authentication is both necessary and imminent, as long as passwords remains a common method of authentication, password security is fundamental necessity. So how to secure passwords effectively? Do we need new ideas, new innovations, and advances in technology that can bring us a promise of password security? Maybe so. To discuss one such new idea, technology innovation that is based on interception-proof authentication and encryption system and method that has won Cybersecurity Innovation Award in 2017 at International Cybersecurity and Intelligence Conference in Toronto, Canada, I am delighted to welcome the inventor Min Frank to Risk Roundup. Frank is the inventor of graphic access tabular entry, in short referred to as GATE, innovation, and is based in United States. Welcome, Frank. We are delighted to have you on Risk Roundup.
Thank you.
Wonderful, Frank. So today, passwords are commonly used during a login process that controls access to protected operating system, irrespective of whether it's computers, mobile phones, cable TV, or to ATMs, or any other means. So what is the state of user account creation, authentication, and protection as we see today across nations?
I think there is a problem, and I didn't realize this problem. It was 2 years ago when I watched a PBS show called Rise of the Hackers. I'm not sure if any viewers have seen this, but it says internet is becoming more and more important in our daily life, and there are a bunch of weaknesses, and password is definitely a weakness. So as a programmer for 20 years, I'm a Java developer. At that time, when I watched the show, I thought maybe I can come up with a solution to help solve this problem. And that's why this GATE program was invented. And I got a patent last year. Now I'm trying to see if there's any market for this.
Great, great. So when we look at a typical digital user, irrespective of where they are located, irrespective of the geographical location, they have passwords for so many different purposes. They log into accounts and they access emails, they access databases or websites or social media accounts or anything else, or even their home security. So how does a password protection vary on different forms of computers, because we have so many different forms of operating systems and computers? So is the password protection same, the format behind it, the mechanism behind it, the structure behind it, architecture, is it the same on different forms of computers and modes?
I guess depending on the operating system and the implementation of different devices, different mobile phones, PCs. But the problem is they're just using the essential password system that has been in existence for thousands of years. Remember the story of Alibaba and the 40 thieves, right? When Alibaba listened to the head of the thief said, "Open sesame," that's how he intercepts the password. And we're still using the so old mechanism try to log in, authenticate a user in our 21st century digital times. But this is outdated, definitely outdated. The hackers are using this weakness to intercept people's passwords, and it becoming more and more vulnerable.
Yes, no, definitely. I understand that it is outdated. And there are more and more, cyber crimes happening because of that outdated mechanism that we have for the password protection, but there are also authentication frameworks that are there for that defines the requirements for user authentication to all these digital services, including the requirements. So you think that the authentication mechanisms are also outdated?
Well, it tried to overcome some of the problems that exists, but it cannot overcome all of them. And it's become of a hassle. For me as a user myself, every 3 months, 5 months, you're required to change your password. And there's a video for this. It's kind of joke. Like you have to enter uppercase. Okay, you enter the uppercase and it says no lowercase also. Okay, into the lowercase, no numbers. Okay, I enter the numbers. It says okay, special characters. If after I enter the special characters, no, it's too short. It has to be 8 characters. This and that. I'm just frustrated with this, and I believe most of the users are frustrated with this too.
Yes, no, I hear your frustration, and I agree with you that there is always so much challenge when we create password. And passwords, it has not always been about words or characters, and like you said, lowercase, uppercase, and all that. Passwords, counter passwords, or clicks, or they have evolved over the years, and each organization, each entity, each operating system, and each website or where digital provider, you have all different mechanisms for that. So today when an individual, irrespective of it could be you, it could be me, when we enter user ID and password, is that secured? Is there a state of privacy and security when we try to create our account or try to create our user ID, or when we create our password? Is that secured?
To me, it's not. Definitely, it's not. Maybe to some of the people in the organization, they're trying to enforce all those rules. It seems like they get a false safety. They seem like it's, okay, I get it more complicated. It's becoming more hard to hack. It's secure, but it's not, because if I have to remember multiple different rules of passwords, I have to generate different passwords. I don't remember all those. I have to write it down somewhere. Okay. Some people put it underneath the computer, put it under the desk, or you save it in a file. Okay. Once that file is stolen, everything's open.
Yes, that is very true. That is a big challenge. So, isn't there a common practice? I mean, that those challenges you said are created by the users, but when we talk about the computer system, isn't that a common practice for the computer system to hide password as the user is trying to create the password? It doesn't get hidden when we are trying to create it?
Well, you can do whatever on the server side to protect the password. You can encrypt it, hide it in the database, whatever. But the user, as an average person, people just behave the way they want to behave. They don't want to go through all those hassles. And most of the people cannot remember all those rules for different passwords. For me, I just can't remember it. Like you have a bank account, like 2 or 3 different bank accounts, credit card accounts, utility accounts, email accounts. Okay. After all those, how can you remember like 14 different passwords, different rules? I have to write it down somewhere.
Yes, very true. Yeah, that is a challenge for I think everyone across nations as they try to remember their passwords or try to create password, and remember that for each and every different site or venue that they are using for the digital services. So if you're talking about the server side, how do passwords get verified over a network? When we try to enter a password, if we create it, then we are trying to use the same password next time when we try to access that website or ATM or anything. So how does the password get verified? Is that a secure format, or is that there are some vulnerabilities there?
Yeah, there's definitely a vulnerability, and that's why the gate system try to overcome all those vulnerabilities. And we can talk about that later. But now the problem is interception. There are keyloggers. I have a video for this if you're interested. It's from a movie TV series. People try to download a PDF file, and you thought it's some kind of instruction to update your password or whatever. You click on it, okay, it installs a keylogger on your computer without you knowing it. And then when you type in your password, everything is recorded and instantly transferred to the hacker at the other side. So when you log into any site, they can see instantly what you're typing.
I see. I see. No, definitely. I'm sure a lot of our users, our viewers and listeners, they would, benefit by seeing that video. So if you can share the details with me, I will definitely be happy to pass along to whoever is interested. But from your assessment, what are the problems, critical main problems that we are facing today with today's passwords and how to make them secure?
Yes, definitely the key point is interception. It's too obvious, just like the open sesame story. When you say open sesame, the person listening to it, it's like a hacker next to you peeking over your shoulder from your mobile device or your PC or maybe an ATM machine. Or they can have a video surveillance camera zooming in, long distance zooming in. They can see your hand movement and they can figure out what your password is.
I see. I see. That is definitely a very critical risk. Now, if we are talking about the overall IT industry, they have continued to operate under a system of password acceleration across multiple incompatible systems, because not all the systems that we are witnessing right now or using right now, they are compatible to each other. Compatibility is a big problem. So, what role do you think system incompatibility plays in password security?
Well, I guess it's hard to see how passwords work on different systems with different required rules, and the compatibility could be an issue. But in order to work on all different systems, they have to have like minimum, what do you call it, denominator. So it can work on all different systems. So there's some systems that's innovative, but limited to the capability of the system, of the operating system, hardware, software, so that cannot be implemented. Let's just say fingerprinting is one mechanism that you can authenticate a user. It has its faults. People can imitate fingerprints. I have another video for this. Also, iris scanning. But those are very expensive hardware, software you have to install, and it is becoming a hassle even to use it on a daily basis. Would you like a laser scanning your eyeball every few times a day? To me, it's a hassle, and it's not secure either because it's physical. Something physical, then it can be stolen.
I see. No, I see your point there. Now, what different tools and technologies you see are available in the market for password authentication and security?
Well, one thing is quite popular nowadays is it's called a password manager because it realized people cannot remember all those passwords, and the passwords needs to be complicated and long in order to avoid the hacking. So it intentionally generates very, very long passwords, and it manages for you. So that means you do not know your password. You cannot remember it. The device or the program manages it for you. You log in using that device to log in, and it just help you to log into all different kinds of websites. But the vulnerability is, what if this password manager is hacked? Then all your secrets are in the open.
Yes, no, that is a good information. Now let's talk about your idea, innovation that you have about the graphic access tabular entry, in short referred to as GATE. So, how would you describe GATE? What is GATE?
Yeah, that reminds me of 2 years ago when I watched the show, and the essential problem is it's too obvious. Let's say your password is 123. So when you type it, first character is 1, second character is 2, third character is 3, right? So that's the old way, which has been existed for thousands of years. And if a hacker or somebody is in the middle try to intercept the traffic, you communicate to the server, then they intercept the 1, the 2, and the 3. So next time they can log in themselves. So the secret for me, I think, is to solve this problem is to mix the user pins 1, 2, and 3 with other symbols that could be potentially be a password. But you are mixing the user pins with other symbols and enter them as a group. Let's say the first pin is 1. Instead of entering just 1, which is too obvious, I enter a 1, X, question mark, and a dollar sign as a group of the 4 symbols enter for the first pin. And the second pin, the 2 is mixed with other symbols could be a B, character B, or character pound sign or a question mark. So in order to avoid being obvious, I enter groups of symbols together. So when people intercept this, they don't know which one among those symbols is your user pin.
That is very interesting concept. But how do you enter a group of different symbols into one pin? The one because normally when you enter one thing, it immediately moves to the other area. For example, you have 2222, four different numbers or four different areas where you can enter numbers. So how will you enter a group of number for one? Do we
Yeah,
have
yeah,
ability for
yeah.
that?
So I came up this idea first to hide the user pin with other symbols. Then you need to solve the problem of how do you enter a group of symbols at one time instead of entering one at a time, right? So the step is for the server to generate a bunch of buttons. Each button has a few symbols on it. When you click this button, a group of symbols enter them all at once.
I see your point. But for this to become a reality, everything would need to change. The way each and every website, each and every, operating system, how they access or allow the password creation or password, how they enter, or how it is transmitted, communicated, everything would need to change based on, the nature of, the way we put together the different symbols and create a secured password according to what you are saying.
Yes, it's a conceptual change. The old way is too simple, so we need a new way. But it seems like complicated, but when I see you an example, it becomes very simple. And it's like playing a game. People like playing games, right? War game. So if you think of this as a war game, it becomes interesting and simple to use. I can show you an example if you want.
Sure, go ahead, please.
Okay. Can you see this image of different camcorders, fishing, wiretapping, and peaking on the screen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's compare the old one to the new one. Here's the old way of entering passwords. I type in my user ID and I type in my password. You see, the instant I type in my password, all of my passwords are intercepted by video camera, by phishing, by peeking, and the wiretapping. Do you see those
Yes.
passwords being displayed? Yes. So that's the weakness of the old way. And let's see compared to the new way here. I enter user ID, and after I click enter, the server will pull up my passcode from the database and mixes with other symbols and present it to the user. In the middle, you see a table of 4 by 4, 16 tokens.
Yes.
And now I enter my password here.
Okay.
Successful.
Yes.
So
No, I see your point. I see your
yeah,
point.
and also you see all those intercepted symbols. The video camera, the phishing site won't work, and the peeking, they intercept all the tokens. Let's see, I have 4 tokens down at the bottom, and there are 16 symbols in those 4 tokens. They are intercepted. Even though they are intercepted, can you tell what my password is?
Yeah, I see. I mean, it is much more secure than the old way of old password. But
Yeah.
my concern is that this is definitely a new idea, new innovation, Frank, and it could work based on the mechanism behind it. But there are so many different alternatives also being in the process, like Facebook. The Apple has come up with this face identity. So all you do need to do is, they look at your face, visual features, and that's how you get the access. Now there are also other biometric means, retina scan, and there are a lot of other different options that are also in the work right now. So how would your innovation compete with all those other innovations that are on the way?
Yes, good question. It's a very good question. I remember I read an article about a week ago saying that Apple iFace recognition Face ID is being broken because somebody used a mask. Um, it's pretty much like the person you put on a mask, and the coordinates, 3D coordinates, became that person's face feature, and it can fool the ID, Face ID. Also, fingerprinting, it could be stolen. I have a video clip if you're interested. And eyeball for iris scanning could be stolen. If you watch those, you will know, okay, those are physical things, including the key fob, RSA key fob. Using a token, you enter a series of number each time you log in. What if when you go to sleep, somebody steal it? I can imagine James Bond or Tom Cruise, somebody like that, boyfriend girlfriend situation. When you go to sleep, okay, it's stolen. Everything, even the fingerprinting, and they can just use your fingerprint and put it on a recording machine and then record and steal it.
Sure, no, your point is valid, that there are vulnerabilities in all of those different ideas and innovations and systems that are being worked, but there is one which is called brain waves. Each of us, each individual, we have our own brain waves that can never be replicated, that can never be stolen, that can never be duplicated unless someone chops off our head. Then also, I don't know if we will have an effective brainwave emerging that time. So nobody can steal the brainwave. How would I mean, we don't have the technology yet, but that idea is out there. The principle and the on which the innovation or the authentication model can be developed is out there. So how would that, I mean, there is definitely going to be competition. It's just not this brainwave. There are also a few other ideas and innovations that are in work. So what I mean to say is that it's not going to be like one system is going to be universal everywhere, is going to work. Your system might work, it will work in many different places, but there is serious competition emerging. There are different ideas, innovations that are happening. So I think you should keep that in mind and look into all those different ideas, innovations, and see how your innovation and the system that you are developing, the gate system, how will it compete with all those different ideas and innovations.
Oh, definitely. I do encourage competition. That's good. So each different system can shine in a different spotlight in different situations. You just mentioned the brainwave. It seems like it's another invention. I hope somebody can patent this and bring this to the cybersecurity world so everybody can enjoy this. But I assume for brainwaves, you must need another device to detect it, right? Like a helmet or whatever machine. So you need particular specific hardware and also software associated with that to work inside the system. One advantage of the gate system that I patented is not only human to machine authentication, it also can be used as machine to machine authentication, like two computers try to authenticate each other, maybe a bank to another financial institution. They can use this token system to exchange a series of symbols, characters with the user pins hidden inside it. So even if the traffic is intercepted, nobody can tell very obviously what your user pin is. It's machine to machine. And also, there's no specific hardware requirement. This uses the Unicode, which is implemented in all the operating system, whether it's Apple or Linux or Windows. It can work on all different systems.
No, definitely. Very interesting. And you are right that the added advantage is that machine to machine, authentication would take place. So with all these IoT systems and other, different capabilities that we are developing, that would certainly be very helpful. So what you have developed is definitely a very, very interesting new model for the authentication and the password protection, security. All that would be a reality if we are able to implement this. So, at what stage are you with your organization? You have this idea innovation, and you said it's a very young organization. You got this innovation award recently. What are the next steps for you?
Uh, First of all, I met a few people in the area of cybersecurity, and they also looked at it very closely, and they do recognize the value of this for a more secure user authentication without any particular special hardware that you need to purchase or install. It's just a software. I write it in Java. Java is quite popular nowadays, but it's just a language, doesn't matter. You can translate to PHP, to C, if you like to. For somebody who knows different languages, if you have a need, uh, it's not hard to implement in different languages and also different operating systems. So it's just a replacement for the old system. What I envision is to gradually move this into the market. For people who are familiar with the old system and who don't want to or don't need to have a higher security, they can still use the old system if they want to. But for more secure, security environments, they can use the gate system as an alternative.
Sure, no, definitely. That is very promising, and that is the good vision that you have. Do you want to shut off your screen share? What would you like to tell our the decision makers, especially across nations, who are viewing this or who would listen to what we just talked about, your idea and innovation?
Well, it's like this. I've talked to quite a few people in cybersecurity. Most people realize how important user authentication is and how vulnerable it is right now. But they're also concerned about the new concept because this is a new way to enter passwords. Some people were saying, "Oh, this is too complicated. The user may not get accustomed to this." There is a learning curve. But if you see it from other angle. The angle is if you keep doing the way you are doing and it's vulnerable, and we hear people hacking into systems almost every week. Different large companies gets compromised, the data gets stolen, how passwords is vulnerable. Then you realize, okay, what's the trade-off? Is a little bit learning curve to use the new system more important, or is the password hacking and the data gets stolen more important? So a little bit training, maybe 5 minutes for each user will be enough to learn this system. I can show you how you can learn this and you can play with it for 5 minutes so let the user know how easy it is.
Sure.
Okay. Let me share my screen again and I can talk to you through this. So here is the system. Let's say create a user ID. So when user click here, see if it's available being used by somebody else. If it's already used, you can update. This is how you update your old password. Okay, here are all the symbols available to you to create your user PIN as your passcode. Which ones? You can choose anything. Which one would you like to choose?
Are you asking me?
Yes, I'll give you a try of how the system works. So you can choose any symbol. Just look at it, see which one is easy to use. You can choose any symbol.
Okay, let's choose a triangle.
Okay. Let's keep it short. Let's make 4 of them. Right now, I have the first one. What's the second one?
You can use star.
Star right here.
Then you can use smiley face.
Okay.
And then you can use, can you give me the screen back? Okay, and you can use heart.
Heart. Yes, that's good. Okay, let's remember. Triangle, star, smile, and heart. That's your passcode. Let's save this. It says replace the old one. And we go to the login screen and type in admin. You see the screen right now it's empty because the server needs to know your password in order to present you the token. That means phishing won't work. This definitely defeats phishing. Somebody try to phish your password, it won't work. It needs to generate the tokens for you to choose.
Yes, I see your point.
Yes.
That's very important for security and privacy both. So I think what you have developed is definitely very interesting, and it could work for as
Okay,
far
let's
as
see.
the
Yeah.
password security
So
and
first
privacy.
one, let's enter your passcode one by one in the order of your pins. The first pin is a triangle, second one is a star, third one is a smiley face, and the last one is a heart. So do you see a triangle here on the screen?
Uh, I don't see anything on my screen.
Last
Can
one,
you?
the last one.
Yes.
Okay, into this one. You can click on anywhere on the button, it will enter it as a group mixed with other symbols. And the
So
second one, yeah, what's the question?
yes, no, I see your point that because it will enter as a group, the hackers would not know which particular symbol to be used. So they will have to try many different combinations.
Yeah, yeah. So let's go back and see what's your second one is a star. Is there a star on the screen?
I don't see a star.
Yeah, that's a security feature. You know
Yes,
why? Because if all your pins appear on the screen every time, then after a few interceptions, they can figure out, oh, okay, the first one always has a triangle, so they will know, okay, your first pin must be a triangle because first time it's a triangle with 15 with D, second time it's triangle with 2 with X,
I
and
see.
third time it's a triangle. So the
It will
feature
be
is,
random. So what you mean is that they will generate random, different symbols with that exact symbol. So it won't be the same combination of group every time. Is that
yeah,
correct?
it'll be different combination. Yes.
I see. Very interesting. Very
And
interesting.
also some of the user pins could be missing. This is a very important concept.
Yes,
If a pin is missing, then you must choose any symbol in place of that pin. Let's just choose this one as a placeholder. So the second pin, we enter the random wildcard. And the third pin is a smiley face. Let's see, is there a smiley face here?
yeah,
Right here.
right.
If it appears, then you have to choose that. And what's the last one? Let's see. The last one is a heart. Is a heart here?
I don't see the heart.
Yeah. So you can choose anyone. Which one would you like to choose?
You can choose the letter S.
Letter S. Let's see. Where is the letter S?
I don't see that on my screen. But I mean, it just
Anything. Yeah, I can choose anything, right? Yeah. So now try to log in. Successful.
yes,
On the server side, it checks every token. Go through the user pin in order, in that order. First one is a triangle. Is see, okay, is there a triangle on the screen? If there is, then you have to choose that. Otherwise, it will be error. Let's just assume you didn't choose the triangle. You choose something else. You choose this one. And then you try to log in, failed. Why? Because the triangle is there, then you have to choose that triangle to enter.
right. Now, when
Yeah.
we have these blockchain-based systems, would it work there? This authentication system,
What's your question?
blockchain-based system, would it be effective there? This system that we are developing?
Definitely. If the user needs to log in, you can use this to replace the old password system and just work whatever blockchain, the logic behind the blockchain still works.
I see. I see. Very interesting. So, Frank, I definitely think you are on the right path. It's a very interesting idea and much needed innovation that we need for the security, especially the password, because it's not just about our individual password that gets compromised. Once the vulnerability is there and the hackers are able to get in, the overall, the entire system or all the affiliated associated networks, everything is vulnerable because of the password vulnerability and security breach. So we need a system like this. So thank you so much, Frank, for participating in Risk Roundup today, and we appreciate your thoughtful insight on password security and the need for innovation like yours, the gate what you have developed. So I hope that you are able to take this to the next step and our global viewers and listeners who are listening and watching today would benefit tremendously from the information you provided about the gate and the benefits and the security that it brings to the password, and especially the security that it brings to the entire system. So thank you so much for participating in this roundup today.
It was my pleasure and honor to have a presence on your website for this interview. And I think the strength of cybersecurity concerns all of us. And the weakest link is the problem. You can have very strong links somewhere, but only one link can be broken. If that link is broken, everybody is affected. And I do hope this can benefit all of us in the years to come.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That's the hope that we all share. And amidst rising number of connected devices, the explosive growth of password is leading to complex threats to digital security. And since password security brings complex security challenges, we certainly need a different approach to login credentials and communications. Risk groups, cybersecurity, geosecurity, and space security risk research centers are created for this very reason, to identify, evaluate, and manage the risk facing NGIO in CGS. That means nations, its government, industries, organizations, and academia in cyberspace, geospace, and space. We at Risk Group believe that risk management, security, and peace, they walk together hand in hand. Though security is related to management of threats and peace to the management of conflict, risk management is related to management of security vulnerabilities as well as management of conflict. It is not possible to conceive any one of the three without the existence of the other two. All three concepts feed into each other. We believe that the security we build for ourselves is precarious and uncertain until it is secure for everyone across nations. Tradition becomes our security, so if we build a culture of managing risk effectively, it will lead us to security, and security will lead us to peace. Let's manage the existing and emerging risks together. For more information on the risk roundups, to watch the risk roundup webcast or hear the risk roundup podcast, please go to riskgroupllc.com and do not forget to subscribe and share. Until next time, I'm Jayashree, host of Risk Roundup, signing off. See you next time. Thank you.